Hi, I'm Gam3r4Fun, and for the past 7 years I have become a really big PlayStation fan. That is why I was really interested to see what Sony had to show for the next generation with PlayStation 5. So let's get into this video and talk about what I think about the presentation, the games, and the console design itself. After Microsoft announced the design of the Xbox Series X and the inside earlier this year, everyone, myself included, was looking forward to see what the PlayStation 5 would look like and what games we'll be playing on the new system. Microsoft got a lot of criticism for the latest Xbox Series X showcase for not having much gameplay at all, only cinematic trailers. Sony was clear that in this presentation they were going to show off a lot of gameplay for the upcoming PS5 games, and not much cinematic trailers. Even though I would say that some of the things that Sony showed this presentation was actually cinematic trailers, but it had much more gameplay than Microsoft had. The presentation was 1 hour and 15 minutes long, so to not make this video too long, I picked out a few games, both from first party and third party, I'm going to talk about and discuss, as well as discussing the console design of the PlayStation 5. The order of the games I will talk about is not in chronological order. So now we're going to talk about some of the games that are announced at the presentation. One of the biggest third parties that announced a game on this presentation was Capcom with a new Resident Evil game. This game is called Resident Evil Village, or if you would like an easier title, this is Resident Evil 8. This is an evolution of the Resident Evil 7 game. We saw Chris Redfield in the trailer. I did try the Resident Evil 7 demo when that came out, so if you want to see me play through that, you can see it in the description down below. I warn you, it's scary, and I thought it was a good new beginning for the Resident Evil franchise. The only Resident Evil I have actually liked and I played through is Resident Evil 4 back on the GameCube, PS2, Wii and PC. It seems like this new Resident Evil has taken the best parts from Resident Evil 4 with the village and the castle and mixing it up with the Resident Evil 7 formula and first person. One concern I had from the trailer is that it did not look that good, but it's going to be released in 2021, so I hope it will be good when it's finished. The first PlayStation 5 game that got announced was Godfall. This time in this presentation we saw some gameplay from the game, and it looks like a really cool hack and slash game with amazing graphics. I'm really looking forward to see more about this game.
Not dead. Yes.
Kena, Bridge of Spirits, is a story-driven action-adventure game combining exploration and discovery with fast-paced combat. The game looked cool with cool graphics and good use of ray tracing, and the combat also looked amazing even though we don't know too much about it yet. The next game I want to talk about is NBA 2K21. This is another next-gen sports game, and so far it looks good. We did only see one small cinematic trailer with one player playing alone in the gymnasium, but it looked good and the sweat on his forehead looked really amazing. Even though I'm much more interested to see what FIFA 21 will look on PS4 and Xbox Series X. Another one of the third-party games that was announced actually at Bethesda's E3 last year was Ghostwire Tokyo.
Wow, so many people. Wow, thank you. ありがとうございます。
This was the part of Bethesda's E3 presentation, where a cute small Japanese girl came onto the stage and presented the game. She was really nervous and spoke really bad English.
The big stage makes me nervous. I'll do my best to speak in English.
But since that she's left the project and now it looks much more different than what we saw last year. We thought that this game was going to be multi-platform, but this game is actually console exclusive to PlayStation 5 and probably the PC, at least for the launch. Deathloop is another interesting third-party game from Bethesda. This looks like an interesting game where you're an assassin that's gonna kill 8 other assassins while at the same time being hunted by another assassin. When you get killed, you have to start the game all over, and that's why you get in an endless time loop. We saw what looks like a lot of gameplay, and it looks like it's gonna be a fast-paced action shooter that will be fun to play through several times. Together with Ghostwire, this game will also be console exclusive at launch. Now I will talk about some of the exclusive first-party games that was shown in this presentation under the new PlayStation Studios umbrella.
A hero's just someone who doesn't give up.
The first game that's shown off in this presentation was actually the new Spider-Man game. This game is called Spider-Man Miles Morales and it's from Insomniac Games, just like the first one. The first game was the system seller for PS4 and the original game was amazing. This looks like to be more of a Spider-Man 1.5 rather than Spider-Man 2, and I think the real Spider-Man 2 will come out later on PlayStation 5. This looks like a standalone expansion to the first game, just like Uncharted The Lost Legacy and the infamous First Light game on PS4. One of my biggest surprises was the new Ratchet & Clank game. It's good to see that the reboot of this franchise from 2016 got a sequel. Even though this game is more family friendly, this could also be a system seller for the PlayStation 5 and the game looked also amazing. This was one of the few games we actually saw a lot of gameplay from, and this also shows how good the PlayStation 5 can handle graphics and of course the SSD when you see all the different worlds switching with the Rift mechanics. Something that I thought was a bit strange while watching the stream was broadcasted in 1080p 30 FPS, was that all the games that they showed probably would have worked great on PS4 or PlayStation 4 Pro. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart was the first and maybe only game in the presentation that I could really see the benefit of having an SSD rather than a regular HDD in the system when all the rifts and portals loaded in and out during the gameplay demo. So this was one of the games that I did not think was going to be able to run on PlayStation 4, and that's why it was so good that it was on PlayStation 5 instead of the old consoles. Another game that was heavily rumored before the presentation was the new Horizon Zero Dawn game from Guerrilla Games. The new game is called Horizon Forbidden West. Like with the Spider-Man game, the first Horizon game was a system seller. I don't have a PlayStation 4 Pro, just the regular vanilla original. But when I played the first game, I thought the game looked amazing in 1080p. The sequel looks like it uses a tweaked version of the same engine from the first game, but at the same time they upraise it to make the game more focused on ray tracing and underwater exploration. This game is gonna certainly be a system seller as well, together with a new Spider-Man game and Ratchet & Clank. A game that I don't think we will see very soon is Gran Turismo 7 from Polyphony Digital. The Gran Turismo games has recently fallen behind Microsoft's Forza games, and one of the reasons I think that is because the GT games take too long time to develop, compared to Microsoft Forza series which comes out every other year. One year is the Horizon games, and another year is the main Motorsport series games. We did get to see a little gameplay of GT7, but since the presentation was streamed in 1080p 30 FPS, it did not look as good as it could be compared to Forza. My hope is that the game runs at 4K 60 FPS and that it comes out in the early PS5 lifecycle. A smaller game that I think was a big surprise was Sackboy: A Big Adventure from Sumo Digital. Sackboy is the main mascot from Little Big Planet, from Media Molecule, and it's cool to see that the main character finally gets his own Mario or Yoshi lookalike 3D platformer. The game looks cute, but I think the graphics are a little bit too simple and it might not push the PS5 that much. But it's good to see more 3D platformers coming to the PS5, especially when they're PlayStation franchises like Sackboy and Ratchet & Clank. At the launch of the PlayStation 4, Playroom was a free tech demo that you can download and play with some of the PlayStation 4's new features. Playroom VR was the same for PlayStation VR when that launched. Astro's Playroom looks to be the same, a free tech demo to show off what the DualSense controller can do. It looks to be a little bit inspired by 3D Mario, and this time it seems to be more gamey. Now I will talk about what I think about the two new PlayStation 5 designs. The first thing I thought about the new design was that it was a bold design. It looks like a future tech and something that stands out, and in some ways a mid-2000s Apple product, when they used the white plastic and not aluminium. The DualSense's design is easily recognizable in the console. One of the things that was surprising when they announced the design of the console was that it was not only one console, but two consoles. One console with an optical drive and one console that was only digital. The disc version has a weird extra bump for the optical drive, and I'm not sure if I like that. And the digital one has a much more cleaner design. It makes me wonder if Sony designed the digital one first and then had to design the optical drive one separately. One thing that I thought was weird was why the optical drive is on the bottom of the console when it lies flat. I think the console would look better if the disk drive was on the top when it was flat. And why couldn't they just have the disk drive in the middle, like on the older PlayStation consoles? The console looks tall. As you can see from this picture, it looks like it's going to be the tallest console ever made when it stands up. One thing that we learned from the presentation and the released images is that the console can stand or lay down. What we don't know yet is that if the stands for upright and flat positions comes with the console. Sony has in the past sold these stands for their older consoles separate at a high price. This time I think they both will be included because of the console's odd shape. As we can see from the video and on the photos, there is a USB Type A and a USB Type C in the front of the consoles. The DualSense controller is charged by USB Type C, so that's why that port is in the front. There has already been many fan concepts of the PS5 in other colors and other editions. It's probably gonna happen, but not maybe at launch. And why isn't there an all black edition? Why is the console two-toned? All other Sony consoles except the PS1 has originally had a black launch model, but here time will show. Sony actually showed a bit of the PlayStation 5 UI. Before the Astrobot Playroom trailer, we saw a small glimpse of the Start Welcome button, and it's probably going to be much like the one on PS4, but quicker and more features. Something that Sony also announced and showed, together with the console design, was new accessories that you can buy for the consoles. A Pulse 3D wireless headset. This is probably to get the most out of the new 3D audio system on the console. A DualSense charging station, where you can charge up to two DualSenses at the same time. An HD camera. This is probably required for the next generation PSVR, and might also be useful for streaming directly from the console. And a media remote. This is probably for ease of use for the built-in 4K Ultra HD Blu-rays that the optical disc version of the consoles supports. All in all, I think Sony delivered a good presentation. They showed many games with a lot of gameplay, some of it was cinematic trailers, but everything was presented in a way that was hyping up the two new PlayStation 5 consoles and the games. I think there was some part in the middle of the presentation that dragged on a little bit, and many of the games looked like it could be run on PS4. But I think they had a better showcase overall than Microsoft's last Xbox Series X presentation. This has been a new type of video for me. If you have liked what I've talked about and want to see more of my future content, then click the subscribe button and a thumbs up. If you want, you can leave a comment down below what you think about the presentation, the games and the PlayStation 5 itself, and if it's going to be successful against Microsoft Xbox Series X. And until the next video, I've been Gam3r4Fun, and I hope you have a nice day.